Shalom. That's strange of you to be here. Maybe your service has different times. But shalom, good to see you. Good to see you. I've been doing this stretching lately, and I can tell my flexibility has been getting better. I took a week out of the gym. I really want to do 6 weeks on, 1 week off. Then the 7th week, I just don't hit the weights. And then I've been doing the no eat meat. So I'll just eat like fruits and vegetables, salads on the Sabbath. I do cheat and eat my candy. Lost your keys to the kingdom. You lost the keys to the kingdom. So I've been trying to figure out. I want to figure out how can I let my digestive tract rest. So I want to be able to maybe up the Bragg's apple cider vinegar, maybe do some ginger stuff, maybe some tea, and I want to push health on the Sabbath, like a 1 day, even if you just do a detox where you just do no meat, no carbs, will be smoothies or just salads. Let your body rest a little bit, digestive tract, clean food, get real clean just for a day, and then go back at it, So it's been working pretty good. Definitely thank the Almighty. Been working on my stretch and my flexibility. Got a couple new goals in the gym. Lord willing, work's gonna pick back up, and then I can start making some moves. I can start helping the brothers and sisters make money too. I can start making some bigger moves and be playing catch up. The whole little going on 9 weeks or 10 weeks of not working, or just like 3-day, 2-day paychecks and stuff. So just slowly starving out your savings. But definitely thank the Almighty that I'm able to go 2 months, and He's put me in a position to where I'm able to save for a rainy day, and then when the storm comes, then praise the Almighty. Shalom, shalom, everyone. So definitely thank the Almighty. Do those things. It's been a pretty good week. Had some good dialogue. This gun guy, he made some situation. Whenever they say Torah, you already know they're like Old Testament only. How much time I got before we get started? Oh, I got 4 more minutes. So when I know they're Old Testament only, one, that's the spirit of the Antichrist, so I don't deal with it. You shouldn't really be befriending people that's Old Testament only, because the Pharisees and the Sadducees didn't receive Mashiach. Not all the Pharisees. Some of them didn't. So that's the spirit of the Antichrist. You don't receive Mashiach, then you got the spirit of the Antichrist. I don't even fool with you. But the level of hypocrisy, they're the most lawless people, even above Christians. Because they'll be in the States, and then they don't keep the feast days. Oh, we're not in the land. Oh, we're not in our land. Oh, we don't have to keep that because we're not in our land. And then I have not seen not one congregation that is Torah-based. Like, we're the Torah-only churches, or the Torah-only camps, or the Torah-only congregation. Where are those buildings? Where are those websites? Where are those ministers at? So it's like a group of people that just come and just say they're Torah only, and without any leadership or any structure of government whatsoever, and then they all have different views on what they can and can't obey. So I mean, might as well say you can murder, because I mean, I guess we don't have to keep that when it comes in the land. I mean, we're out of the 613 commandments, and yes, I do know a lot of those 613 only was for the Levitical priesthood, because we have all the commandments dealing with strictly the priests, right, and children of Levi, right? But what out of those 613 are you going to keep and not keep, and do this and do that and do this? It's a bunch of lawlessness. They're not giving no sacrifices, so they have no atonement for their sin. They're going to use them in the land of the captivity. Well, get a passport and go to Jerusalem. You can go to Jerusalem right now. Go get a passport and run it. Run that. Go get a passport and go there for the feast days. So it's just, that in and of itself shows how lawless they are. But saying that we stick to the Torah, you will die in your sins. You will die in your sins. I wonder, maybe I need to take the time, because they don't have no congregations out there, and talk to someone that's Torah only, like go on a phone call. All right, so what are you expecting this Messiah to come? What's the end goal? How do we get to How do we get to Isaiah when he sets up the kingdom? When Isaiah talks about when he sets up the kingdom, there'll be a new heaven, new earth, and the king will rule. What are you guys looking for? What prophecies in the Torah are you actually? How is that going to come to pass? Because we have Daniel's vision, and it aligns with Isaiah, and it aligns with the book of Revelation, and so we could easily say this is how it's going to go down. We're going to have an Antichrist. We're going to have a one world government. We're going to have a mark and a microchip, or maybe not a microchip. We're going to do this. He's going to make war against the saints. And this is how we get to point A to point B. So tell me, let's read some of this. Add something smoothies in a group of Mormons. They have the Torah only congregations Southern believes. Oh, okay. I want to know, are they doing sacrifices for their sins? Are they doing, because that's the only way you got an atonement in the law, in the Torah. That was the only way. So, are you, and then two, you need to bring your sacrifice to Jerusalem. So, are they going to Jerusalem for all the 3 feasts a year? So, I mean, you could give a sacrifice for your sin. They had synagogues all throughout, but you had to go to Jerusalem. You didn't have to keep the Day of Atonement at Jerusalem. Oh, the Day of Atonement? No, you did not. And then blowing the trumpets, you didn't. But Passover / Feast of Unleavened Bread, Pentecost, and Feast of Tabernacles, you had to be at Jerusalem. So, I want to know how they doing that. T, she said no. He said no. So, yeah, it's a bunch of I'm picking and choosing what in the law I'm going to obey. And you could argue that with Christians, and you could even argue that with us. But we have scriptures where Christ fulfilled the sacrifice. You know, you don't have no scriptures on why you don't sacrifice lambs and goats, turtle doves and stuff like that. So I don't even mess with them. Go ahead and let them have the spirit of Antichrist. Those scriptures need to be fulfilled. People going to the lake of fire need to be fulfilled. That has to be fulfilled, right? So, how much time we got? Thank the Almighty. And you could tell they go, show me in the Torah, show me in the Torah. It's like, man, I'm good. He said, oh, and then last thing he was like, man, it's crazy. I thought we had the same foundation, but apparently not. This is wild. I was like, yeah, because I have the foundation. It says we are built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets, Yeshua Mashiach being the chief cornerstone. So my foundation is built off the apostles and the prophets, and Yeshua Mashiach being the chief cornerstone. You don't receive Yeshua Mashiach, and you don't receive the apostles. So how are me and you, we're on a different plane. You're playing basketball and I'm playing football. There's 0 point for me to discuss the scriptures with someone that's Old Testament only. If you felt like they are honest and they just have genuine questions and not trying to debate and sit in their own mind, yeah, feel free. Maybe they'll come to truth. But once you feel they're set in their own mind, what's the point of Bart? Have you ever tried to speak? Perfect example. I'll go quick. We're dealing with homosexuality. We dealt with kids having fornication, people having kids out of wedlock, and we dealt with trans. And this guy I'm talking to that I was training, all his viewpoints is anecdotal, off of personal experience. And even though he knows I believe in the Bible, I didn't bring anything that was biblical. Who am I to say that a man can't be a woman? I said, hey, then there's people that believe that they identify themselves as a cat. Oh, that's not right. I don't know anyone that does that. It doesn't matter. You don't know. There's people that do that. So where do we draw the line? You know? And it says, that's just your opinion. No, you have 2 X chromosomes. That's a male. You have an X and a Y. That's a female. There is no opinion on this. This is fact. I don't care what you believe that you identify as. Your feelings don't override fact. And he couldn't, his arguments was so off of his life experiences, which that is one variable of coming to truth. Of my experience dealing with police officers isn't well, because I had more bad experience than good ones, and I've had a whole bunch of them. But let's look nationwide of police brutality towards Hebrews. Let's look at the statistics of them planting drugs. This guy got planting drugs, and then they had to go back 12 other cases where people says those drugs weren't mine, and they had to review those cases and realize that this crooked cop was planting drugs on black people and getting them sent to jail. So my personal experience aligns with the consensus or the study. And so this is what happens when feelings outweigh facts. So I'm going to come to him when I as he says, oh, it doesn't bother you, and no, he has family members that are gay and transgender, has sex changes or cross-dresser or whatever, right? And so he was kind of defending it, even though he's not like that. So I'm gonna come to him. I'm gonna come to him next time I train, and if the topic comes up, I'm not gonna push the topic. I'm like, hey, man, let's say you got this guy that identifies himself as a woman and gets a sex change, right? And says he's a woman, and let's say he gets kidnapped, or he goes hiking and gets lost, or he gets in a car accident, falls off the bottom of the hill, and 3, 5 years later, 10 years later, they come and see the bones, and they're trying to identify the body, and they check the DNA, and it has 2 X chromosomes. What are they going to say this person was? And by default, he's going to have to say, well, he's going to say he's a man. It doesn't matter if you had a sex change. It doesn't matter if you identify. Your feelings and how you think does not outweigh fact. And it's the same thing. He was getting mad. He was getting frustrated. I was like, if you think that it's okay for a man to be with a man, that is a preference. A man to be with an animal. A man to be with an 8-year-old. A pedophile, right? Those are all things, I'm probably going to get censored or whatever, right? Those are all things where you have a preference for something that's not natural. Oh, why you got to use this? I don't view a person that likes the same sex as the person like that's a pedophile or a bestiality and this and this. It's the same thing. Something's got to tighten that bolt, right? Something's not right. Something that's right. And this is where their feelings get in the way. And this is how delusional this state is. It doesn't matter how much proof you show them with the scripture or in science or in history or in tests and statistics. It doesn't matter. So, I'm way past time. Welcome to True Hebrews United of the Almighty Yeshua. This is beloved, holiness, instructor, disciple, drill sergeant, about to get into the book as usual. Definitely give all honor to the Almighty. Yeah. Through his son, Yeshua Mashiach, the only begotten of the Father. Definitely give double honor to the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the teachers, the elders, the bishops, the deacons across the whole planet. Appreciate you. Occupate. Teaching these people to repent from their sins and come to this gospel for his everlasting too late. All the brothers and sisters keeping the Almighty's commandments, statutes, judgments, precepts, and ways. All the people on the Facebook, YouTube that share, like, comment, subscribe, all that. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. I want you guys to be saved. We do Zooms every Sabbath night. We do service Sabbath day. You can reach us at 619-501-1375. That's stateside number. That's WhatsApp number. That's messenger number. So you can reach us. If you have any biblical questions, feel free to call that number any time of the week. And I have no problem answering or just talking and chopping it up. If you're trying to find a congregation, you want to ask what we believe, what we stand for, why we believe, what scriptures to support, why we believe, feel free to ask. I have no problem with sharing that with you. So, with all that said being done, let's let the fingers do the walking and the scriptures do the talking. So, we're on part 2, dealing with a sower went out to sow. So we're going to read that. I'm going to recap a little bit on part 1 from last week, and then we're going to deal with part 2. Luke chapter 8. Luke chapter 8. Luke chapter 8. Juana. About real bold. Oh yeah, probably. We'll see. We'll put it up there. Maybe get flagged or something. It's not a medical disinformation flag, so maybe that it will be a different strike, right? Luke chapter 8, verse 4. And when much people were gathered together, there went out. They were come out of every city, and he spake a parable. So they went to talk to him, right? It says, Sower went out to sow his seed, and he sowed, and some fell on the wayside, and it was trodden down, and some the fowls of the air devoured it, and some fell upon the rock, and as soon as it was sprung up, it withered away because it lacked moisture. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up with and choked it. And others fell on good ground and sprang up and bare forth 100-fold. And when he had said these things, he cried out, He that have an ear, let him hear. And his disciples asked him, saying, What might these parables be? And he said, Unto you is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of the Most High. But to other parables, seeing they may not see, hearing they may not understand. Now the parable is this, that the seed is the word of the Most High, and they by the wayside that hear it, when they cometh the devil and taketh away the word out of their hearts, lest they should believe and be saved. And they on the rock are they which, when they hear, they receive the word with joy, and when they have root, and these have no root, which for a while believe, in time of temptation fall away. And they which fell among the thorns are they which, when they have heard, go forth and are choked out with the cares and riches and pleasures of this life, and bring no fruit to perfection. But the one on the good ground are they that which hear with the honest and good heart, having heard the word, keep it, and bring forth fruit with patience. So let's go back to 12. I'll recap on 12, and we're going to deal with 13 right now. Those on the wayside, those that hear the word, cometh the devil and take away the word out of their hearts, that they should believe and be saved. Well, just to recap, the people of Big Bang Theory, evolution theory, the aliens came and spliced us with monkeys and created humans. If there was a God, why would he let my grandma die? Prove to me there's a God. There's so many religions. Who am I to choose which religion is the right religion? People at church are nothing but hypocrites. I don't want nothing to do with God. Whatever excuse they use to not try to come to truth, that seed is on the wayside. All right, so we already dealt with that in detail last Sabbath. Now let's go with this one. And they on the rock are they which, when they hear, receive the word with joy, and these have no root, for a while believe, and in the time of temptation fall away. Go ahead and give me Proverbs 24. Proverbs 24. And we're going to start at verse 10. Proverbs 24, verse 10. If thou faint in the day of adversity, thy strength is small. I want you guys to highlight that and always remember that. Adversity will come, and if you faint or if you give up or if you gas out in the day, it says your strength is small. So we need to build up that strength. We need to get that strength up, right? So I'm going to show you two examples. We're going to do someone that does it wrong. We're going to do it someone that does it right. When adversity comes in your walk with the Most High. Who is on the rocky ground and who is on the good ground, right? Go ahead and give me 1 Samuel chapter 1. 1 Samuel chapter 1. First Samuel chapter 1. And we'll start at verse 12. 1 Samuel chapter 1. Verse 12. And it came to pass that he continued praying before the Lord, and that Eli... Oh, wait up. 1 Samuel chapter 1. Verse 12. Chapter 2, sorry. Chapter 2, verse 12. Now the sons of Eli were the sons of Belial. They knew not the Almighty. So they didn't have a relationship with the Almighty, right? And the priest's custom when the people was that when a man offered a sacrifice, and the priest came, and when the flesh was seething with a hook of 3 teeth in his hand, he struck it in the pan of the kettle and the cauldron or the pot. And that which the flesh hook brought up for the priest took for himself, so they did in Shiloh unto all the congregation, because the priest ate off the thing. So when you offered a sacrifice, they had a hook, and they'll pull some meat off, and that meat is for them and their family, right? And it's not like you couldn't do that every person that came and gave a sacrifice. So yeah, plenty of opportunity, right? So let's keep going. Also, before the burnt offering, the priest of the servant came and said, the man that sacrificed give flesh to roast for the priest, for he will not have it sodden, but raw. And if any man said on him, let it not fail the burnt fat presently, then take as much as thy soul desire. He would answer him, nay, but thou shalt give it to me now. If not, I take it by force. So now he says, no, you give me the animal now, or I'll take it by force, instead of just doing it how the Almighty set up to do it, right? Wherefore the sin of the young man was very great because of the Almighty, for man abhorred offering unto the Almighty. And this goes into when you be a hypocrite too, because you will sin, like these ministers that sin, or these people that sin, and now people don't even want to come to the Almighty. People don't want to serve the Almighty because they've seen that this molested that little boy, or this conspiracy, and he was stealing the money, and you see the hypocrisy in these false churches and whatnot. And the same thing, the Almighty gets blaspheming through that. And so this sin was great, because now people didn't want to sacrifice to the Most High because of their disobedience. But Samuel ministered before the Almighty, being a child with him in lineage Ephraim. Moreover his mother made him a little coat and brought it up to him from year to year, and she came up with her husband from year. Eli blessed. I'm going to jump down to 22. Now Eli was very old, and heard all his sons did with the sacrifice, and how they lay with the women at the assembly at the door of the tabernacle. So it was fornication. They were sleeping with the women, right? Like we see in these churches, these big old mega churches, is a sex fest, right? And he said unto him, why do ye such things? For I hear of your evil doings by all people. Nay, my sons, for it is no good report that I hear, to make yourself the Lord's people transgress. If one man sin against another, the judge shall judge him. But if a man sin against the Almighty, who shall entreat for him? Notwithstanding, they hearkened not unto the voice of their father, because the Lord would slay him. And the children grew, and the child Samuel grew, and was in favor before the Almighty, and also before men. And there came a man out of the Almighty unto Eli, and said unto him, thus saith the Almighty, did I plainly appear unto the house of thy fathers when thou was in Egypt in Pharaoh's house? And did I choose him out of all the tribes of Israel to be my priest, and offer unto my offer to burn incense, and to wear the ephod before me? And did I give thee the house of thy fathers, and the offering of fire before the children of Israel? Wherefore you kick at my sacrifice and my offering which I commanded, and my habitation, and honor thy sons above me. Right? To make yourself fat with the chiefest of all the offering of Israel my people. Wherefore the Almighty of Israel said, I indeed of thy house and the house of thy father shall walk before me forever. But now the Almighty says, be it far from thee. From them that honor me I will honor them, and they that despise me shall be lightly esteemed. Behold, the days come that I will cut off thy arm and the arm of thy father's house, and there shall not be an old man upon thy house. And thou shalt see an enemy in my habitation, and in the wealth of the Almighty shall give Israel, and there shall not be an old man in thy house forever. And that you might see someone to this day that could be the descendants of that, right? But check this out. And the man that of thine who I shall not cut off from my altar shall be consume thy eyes and grieve thy heart, and all the increase of thy house shall die in the flower of his age. And this shall be a sign upon thee. They shall come upon thy two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, and one day they shall die, both of them together. And he says he's going to raise up. So now, he just talked to his sons, and his sons were still disobeying. But he was in a position where he needed to take his sons out of the office. You can't be a priest no more. What you're doing is not right. You just gave them a little lecture, and then you let them do. So a prophet came and said, hey, because you want to put your sons before me, now I'm going to bring judgment on this behavior. See, a situation may rise. It's not like someone's going to say, hey, you want to smoke this blunt, or you want to do this heroin or whatnot, right? A situation rise where now you got a fork in the road, and temptation comes, and the temptation or the situation where you could put something before the Most High, whether children, mom, dad, or whatnot, or go through adversity, because adversity is going to come regardless. Go through the adversity of doing the right thing. And this is what happens. It says they receive the word, but they're on rocky ground. And when temptation comes, then they fall away. They give heed. Now imagine if you loved your dad, and you loved your dad, or you loved your grandma, or you loved someone, and they passed away. And here's the only time you get to show them respect, at their funeral or when they do the talking or whatever, right? And the family members decide to set it up on the Sabbath. And you really want to go to that, but you know it's the Sabbath. And so in your mind, you're like, man, if I just break the Sabbath just one time, if I just do it one time just to honor my dad or honor my grandma or honor that, then it shouldn't be that bad. But that one time is the test to see if you're going to put the Almighty before your son, before your daughter, before your grandma, before your grandpa. Because that means under the right pressure, you will fall away. You're on rocky ground. When the pressure gets too tough on you, you will put something before the Most High. It's no different than being a stripper. Oh, I'll just do strippers. But with the right amount of money, oh, I'll do a little bit more. And then I'll do a little bit more. Oh, I'm not a prostitute. But the fact that you became a stripper means that there's a price on your behavior. And for the right price, it doesn't matter. And so when the pressure or the price gets too heavy, you will sin against the Most High for your son, for your daughter, for your uncle, for your mom, for whoever. This is when he's saying the rocky ground, temptation or persecution. Because if I do the right thing, I will suffer. Whether financially, I'll lose this job. If I say I got to keep the Sabbath, I might find a job that makes $7 more. Money's going to be tight. What am I going to do? This is the cost of being saved. When, let's say, I'll use the funeral. There's only this one time. I just need to break the Sabbath just one time. I only have one opportunity to do this. I just want to honor my grandpa or whatever one time, right? So, is what the Almighty asking you to do more than he asked Abraham? He said, sacrifice my son. Sacrifice my son. And Abraham was willing to do it. Is what the Almighty asking you to do to keep the Sabbath and you can't show honor or you can't support or you can't do something for your son, for your daughter, for your mom, for whoever, that one time is not a greater thing than what he asked Abraham. So why break the Sabbath or why break the Almighty's commandments like he did for his children? And think there's not going to be restitution. You will reap that. You will reap what you sow. And then the worst thing to get is, because I've been there when you're young, well, it's not that big of a sin, so if I have to reap it, I could take it. You don't know what the Almighty could bring. You don't know. You, in your mind, think, well, since it's just a little sin, if I have to reap what I sow, it can't be that bad. I wonder how bad it is eating a fruit in the Garden of Eden. I wonder if on the grand scheme of things, man, it's just me. Man, I mean, how bad can me just eating this apple? I know the Almighty told me not to eat the apple. How bad could it possibly be? And you, get out the garden. Get out. Thorns and thistles by the sweat of your brow. Get out. The land's cursed. Get out. And so we just think, oh, well, I'll just break this. I'll just give the Almighty the middle finger just this one time. I'll just give the Almighty the middle finger and break his commandments for so-and-so, or to get this job, or to do this. No, it don't work that way. This is why we cannot be on the rocky ground. You follow me? Let's keep going. Go ahead and give me Job chapter 1. Job chapter 1. Shalom, Yvonne Griggs Head and Davine. Oh, what's going on, Devin? Job chapter 1. Starting at verse 8. Job chapter 1, verse 8. And the Almighty said unto Satan, How hast thou considered my servant Job? There is none like him in the earth, a perfect and upright man, one that feareth God and escheweth evil. He says there's none like him. It says, How thou, and Satan answered the Almighty and said, Does Job fear the Almighty for naught? Hast thou not made a hedge about him and in his house and all that he have on every side, and hast blessed the works of the land, and his substance increase in the land? But put forth thy hand now and touch all that he have, he will curse thee to thy face. He said, man, he's on rocky ground. He's on rocky. He only serves you because you're feeding him and you bless him. He's on rocky ground. I guarantee you, put some pressure on him. Put some pressure on him, and he'll curse you to his face. Because I think Job's on rocky ground. I don't think Job's on good ground. He may not be by the wayside, but he ain't on no good ground. He's on rocky ground. Put some pressure on him. Put some adversity on him. Let's keep going, right? And the Almighty said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath in thy power is in thy power. Only himself put forth not put not forth thy hand. So Satan went forth from the presence of the Almighty. And there was a day where the sons and his daughters were eating and drinking in the wine in the elder's brother's house. And there came a messenger unto Job and said, the oxen were plowing and the donkeys were feeding beside them. The Sabaeans fell upon them and took away. Yet they have slain thy servants at the edge of the sword, and I am escaped alone. So his ox got took, right? And while he was yet speaking, there came also another, and said, the fire of the Almighty has fallen from heaven, and have burned the sheep and the servants, and consumed them, and I am only escaped alone to tell thee. And while he's yet speaking, there came another also another, and said, the Chaldeans made out of 3 bands, and fell upon the camels, and carried them away, yea, and have slain the servants with the edge of the sword, and I only escaped alone to tell thee. And while he's yet speaking, there came also another, and said, thy sons and thy daughters were eating and drinking wine in thy brother's house, and behold, there came a great wind from the wilderness, and smote the 4 corners of the house, and fell upon the young men, and they are dead, and I only am escaped alone to tell thee. Then Job arose and rent his mantle, and shaved his head, and fell down on the ground, and worshipped, and said, naked I came out of my mother's womb, and naked I shall return. And the Almighty giveth, and the Almighty taketh away. Blessed be the name of the Most High. In all this, Job sinned not, nor charged the Almighty foolishly. So now we see pressure got put on his relationship, and he didn't crumble. He wasn't on rocky ground. He was able to stand. And that's the difference, because we have the opportunity to build a relationship with the Most High. I'm going to give a solution to this, because you don't have to stay on rocky ground if you are on rocky ground. And you may just be on rocky ground in one area. You may be good on reading, or good on praying, and good on keeping the Sabbath, but your family is a weak spot, or this is a weak spot, or drugs is a weak spot, and you need to get stronger in these areas. So let's keep going. Go ahead and give me Matthew chapter 7. Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. Starting at verse 8. No, that's not Matthew chapter 7. Hold up. Matthew chapter 7, verse 24, therefore. Matthew chapter 7, verse 24. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them. So now he's saying, if you hear my sayings and doeth them. Oh, okay, now you show up? When did you pop up on the scene? Brother Vince. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them, I will like unto him a wise man who built his house upon the rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and they beat upon the house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon the rock. So if you hear the sayings of the Most High, and you keep them, your house is built upon the rock. Now, and everyone that heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, who built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon the house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. Now, most people don't see, if your house is built upon the rock, or your house is built upon the sand, the storm is still coming. You will still face adversity regardless of what foundation you built your house upon. And based upon that, how you build your foundation is how you succeed when the storm comes. So let's use an example. Because these situations we go through, these forks in the road, are the situations where either you put the Almighty first and you suffer, because there's going to be situations where you put the Almighty first and you will suffer for that. Whether job loss, maybe get rid of your YouTube channel, I don't know, right? Family loss, relationships with son, with daughters, you will lose by serving the Most High. It says, if you suffer loss, you could still be saved. It says, be ye a living sacrifice, right? So throughout your walk, you have a test. You do this test, you do this test, you do this test. We got a little midterm, which would be the Passover, which you call it Passover, right? So you have these tests. But this gets you ready for a storm. We know in 2 years, there's going to be a huge tornado come. So we need to build our house, or we need to get a cellar to where we could shut the door, or a hurricane little shelter where it's underground and you shut the door and the hurricane would pass over. We need to prepare for this storm that's coming. So what are you doing to prepare for that? Because the storm's coming. Whether you build it upon the rock, you build it upon the sand or rocky ground, right? The storm is coming. And so if you can't pass these small tests, then how are you going to make it when the real storm comes? Let's get the shout outs real quick. She probably sent it right on time. Shout outs. Gia, Karen, Reese, Lindsay, Christian Cannon, Devin, or Davin, Tobai Haya, Will, Borenkamp, Coutura, Howard, Retezan Sharon, Claudia, Messias, Occupate, Kamari, Ariel, Nava, Kashev, Zahara is the dead, right? Okay, so the storm is coming, and how do you prepare? Let's go ahead and give me Jude chapter 1 real quick. Jude, we'll go Jude chapter 1. Today will be a shorter service because we have the news. Jude, there's only one chapter in Jude. So Jude 1 and 20. It says, but ye beloved, building up yourselves your most holy faith, praying in the Ruach HaKodesh. So for us to pass these storms, we need to pray in the Ruach HaKodesh. And even if you don't have the Ruach HaKodesh, you should be praying and building your relationship with the Most High. Then if you have a relationship with the Most High, then you're less likely to sin against the Most High. Why does a faithful husband does not cheat on their wife? Is because like I was telling someone, why would I go and for 30 minutes or an hour, or say I cheat 10 times, so 30 minutes times 10, right? 5 hours, right? Why would I spend 5 hours of pleasure, right? Just to cause months of pain or suffering to my wife. How selfish can that be? I spend 30 minutes of pleasure and go outside my marriage just to cause disappointment, frustration, tears, pain on my wife. I love her too much for me to do that. Why would I, for 30 minutes of pleasure, when my kids look up to me and I'm their hero and I'm their motor and they're ready and they like spending time with daddy, and daddy is their incredible hog, right? Daddy is their hero. In your family, you look at any of your family and, oh, daddy's home, or, they like daddy. Daddy's the protector. Daddy's their hero, right? And I tarnish my name simply for 30 minutes or an hour worth of pleasure. Why would I do that? Because I have a relationship with my wife, so I don't go outside my marriage. I have a relationship with the Most High, so I don't go outside my marriage with him when he says don't commit adultery or don't fornicate. So the more you pray or the more you spend time with someone, then you love someone, then you want to marry someone, the more you pray and spend time with the Most High, you build a relationship with the Most High, like genuine prayer. Go for a walk. I tell you guys, I like going for walks. Go for a 30-minute walk and 30-minute back. That's an hour walk. And out of that 30 minutes, you'll probably get, out of that hour, you'll probably get 30 minutes of good prayer. Things that you didn't even know to pray for, you're praying for. Situations that you're pondering and thinking about, and you pray for that situation. Co-worker or a brother or sister, or how to deal with a certain situations. The scriptures will come to mind. The Almighty will put things on your heart. So the best way to build your relationship to pass these tests and not be on rocky ground is get into some prayer. Let's keep going. Give me I got to go fast because I do need to give the news today. 2 Peter chapter 1. 2 Peter chapter 1. Starting at verse 5. Let's get it. And besides this, given all diligence, add to your faith virtue, and virtue knowledge, and knowledge temperance, and temperance patience, and patience godliness, and godliness brotherly kindness, and brotherly kindness charity. 7 things. For if these things be in you and abound, it make you that you shall neither be barren or unfruitful, which we're going to get in a little bit. Next Sabbath is on the thorny ground. are unfruitful. There we go. Sorry, the wind. Unfruitful in the knowledge of the Almighty Yeshua Mashiach, right? But he that lacketh these things is blind and can't see afar off, and have forgotten he was purged from his own sins. He's on rocky ground, right? So let's keep going. Give me Mark chapter 7. A couple more scriptures. Mark chapter 7. Starting at verse 16. Mark chapter 7, verse 16. Let's go back to this thorny ground, right? This rocky ground. Mark chapter 7, verse 16. Oh, it's not right. Mark? I think it's Mark 4. Mark chapter 4. I knew it was chapter 4. I was like, I don't know why I wrote 7. Mark chapter 4, verse 16. And these are they likewise which are sown on stony grounds. We just read this, right? Who, when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness. They come to the Almighty. Some of them get to where they're even baptized. They receive the word. But check this out. And have no root in themselves. So you don't have a relationship with the Most High, right? This is how you build your roots, right? I gave you the solution. So endure for a time. Afterwards, when affliction or persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. So they'll be with you. They'll be at the congregation. They'll be baptized. But with enough pressure, they will fold. They will break. They will sin against the Most High. They will collapse. They may not even go all the way to going to complete sinner, but I'll just break a little Sabbath here. I'll just do something little here. I just a little bit here. They're on rocky ground. Because under the right pressure, they'll fold. They'll sin against the Most High. For the right price, they will sin against the Most High. They could be obeying 80%, but under this pressure, I'll break it. I really need this job, I'll break it. I really need to just tell this little lie so I can get this, I'll do it. You're on rocky ground. You're on rocky ground. Let's keep going. Jeremiah 12. 2 more scriptures. We'll get into some news. Jeremiah 12, verse 5. It says, if thou hast run with the footmen, and they wearied thee. Remember what it says, if you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small. If you faint or you weary, you get tired, right? If thou hast run with the footmen, and they have wearied thee, how can thou contend with the horses? And if in the land of peace, wherein thou trustest, they have wearied thee, how wilt thou do with the swelling of the Jordan when the storm comes and the Jordan and the flood comes, right? So it says, if you can't run with the footmen, if you can't pass these tests now, wait until the real storm. You have a basic rain, heavy rain this weekend. When rain hit like it says, when you're on rocky ground, you build upon the sand and not the rock. When the basic storm or a basic heavy rain this weekend, if the basic test you get, because you have these tests, and every time you pass a test, you get stronger. And then you get stronger. And your faith grows. And your faith grows. Until when the storm comes, you'll be good. But if you can't run with the footmen, how are you going to keep up with horses? And if you can't obey in the time of peace, how are you going to do with the swelling of the Jordan? Because we have a storm coming. And for you to be ready for that storm, imagine you're going to school. And you're not doing your homework. So you failed this test, you failed this test, and you failed this test. Then you failed the midterm. Now you have the final exam coming. That's a set date. That is still coming your way. But you are failing these little tests. So how in the world are you going to pass the final exam and pass the grade? Get a good grade? How are you going to pass that class? This is what happens when you're on rocky ground. Because every time persecution, when you have pressure, that's when you get stronger. For me to get stronger in the gym, I have to overload the muscle to where the body says, I need to build more muscle cells to increase the strength. I need to increase in size to increase the strength to bear the load that was put on me 4 days ago. And this is what caused muscle growth. You have to overload the muscle. So for you to have faith, the Almighty has to give you tests. It says it's impossible that offenses must come. So he puts these tests in front of you for you to pass, to get ready for the storm that's coming. Let's keep going. Last scripture. Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13, 1 through 7. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like of a leopard, and his feet was like the feet of a bear, and his mouth was like the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him power, and his seat was great in authority. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his daily wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon which gave power to the beast, and they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like the beast, who is able to make war with him? And there were given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months, 3.5 years, right? And he opened his mouth, and blaspheming against the Most High, and blaspheming against his name, and the tabernacle of them that dwell upon heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, with us. When this time comes, it's going to be hard. 42 months. We got to survive. And they're coming after the people of the Most High. Let's keep going. And to overcome them. And the power was given over all kindreds and tongues and nations. So when we see this stuff in Revelation comes, it's going to be a tough time for the people of the Most High. And if you disobeying and you breaking a commandment here, or you're a little breaking a commandment here, and you're on rocky ground now, in the time of peace, what happens with the swelling of the Jordan? How are you going to make it when you're breaking a commandment to make money, or you're breaking a commandment to keep a relationship with a family and friend? What happens when your life is literally on the line, or the life of your children is literally on the line? When the real pressure comes, oh, well, the Almighty understands, and this, no. You'll say anything you want to do to justify why you could sin against the Most High and still be all right and be okay, and it's not going to happen. This is why it's important for us not to be on the rocky ground. So, with that said, let's get into the news. So, let me read the articles as well. Texas been slipping. Texas and the STDs. Let's get into some STDs. STDs. All right. All right. Houston area linked to pregnancy. It says they have a outbreak 128% in syphilis cases in Houston. So syphilis has went up 128% in Houston. I keep telling you, these people fornicating. But check this out. I'm just letting you know, I'm gonna tie this into the other information I got. I should have saved it. Now, I read this article a couple of years ago, and they did a study. Syphilis, chlamydia, and gonorrhea, the antibiotics used to treat that is being more resistant. And because of that, there's going to come times where you can't... Here, I'll read this first. Eventually, the WHO, World Health Organization, health officials fear Current antibodies will no longer be effective against gonorrhea, but if you look up other ones, it says chlamydia and syphilis too. There have been cases that do not respond to antibiotics usually used to treat them. In the U.S., there is evidence that the current recommended treatment will be weakened. In September, cluster of 7 cases in Hawaii showed resistance to last treatment. This was alarming first. So, like 3 years ago, I read how this was happening. This article is 2016, that they said, I think by like 2030 or whatnot, that you'll find people dying from gonorrhea, from syphilis, and from chlamydia because the antibiotics, these diseases is resistance to these antibiotics, and they're running out of options. Have you ever noticed when this antibiotic doesn't work, like for MRSA, then they'll give you a stronger antibiotic or they give you a different one, but they have like 6 or 7 different antibiotics to treat the same thing if this one doesn't respond or this one, but they said they're running out of options, and some people is resistant to where they can't even treat it. They're just going to have to live their life with gonorrhea or syphilis or chlamydia. So, I don't know if that's by design or if they made it that way on purpose, because who knows what they do in the labs. But this is why you shouldn't be fornicating. This is the product of fornicating. Like, I don't know why you guys don't look at people that fornicate as people that are irresponsible. You'll look at someone that mismanages their money, and you're like, man, they're irresponsible. They ran up their credit just to buy a TV or a video game, or they didn't go through a hard time, or they're managed money. They're irresponsible with their finances. But these people running around fornicating, they're irresponsible with your body. Why in the world would you leave yourself at risk for an STD or an unwanted pregnancy? For someone you barely know. For someone you're not married to. And it's spreading. So apparently there's not all the, I was in a 6-year relationship and then I got whatever happened. Look, it's spreading. 128%. Like, they have normalized wrong behavior so much to where you don't look at a person that runs around and sleeps around as irresponsible. And that's the worst thing. I'd rather you run up your credit cards, be irresponsible with your body. There's kids being born with symptoms from chlamydia or gonorrhea or herpes, coming out the womb with herpes because they got herpes from the dude or she had herpes, coming with no chance. Just coming in this world with the STD out the gate, herpes on their eyes and stuff. If you look at those pictures, look those things up. It's nasty. It's sad that this kid has to be born into this world already with no chance. Got something forever because their mom or their dad's irresponsibility. I don't get it. I don't, like, once you start living for the Almighty, we can't, David says, I hate every false way. That's a false way. Oh, well, I was in a relationship. It doesn't matter. You're not married. Hey, if you date with the purpose of getting married, prior to marriage, you should get tested. Get tested. Get tested 6 months before and get tested right before, just in case they had something that didn't show up. Get tested once a year. I don't care. Get tested. This will prevent that. This will prevent that. Marry before you carry. This will prevent all these kids born out of wedlock. This will prevent that stuff. So, you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. Oh, you know how you get out of, I'll just use a condom. Or how about you just wait until you're married? Condoms don't protect against genital warts or herpes. Condoms don't protect against all STDs. Some of it's around the sides. Then what? You're trying to get around, and then they'll double down with not taking accountability, not only being irresponsible, not taking accountability. Someone will get abortions. So you made an unwise decision with your body and leave yourself from a pregnancy from a man that if you don't look at that man as being a husband, then why are you even putting yourself at risk to carry his child? And even if you do, he's not proposing to you, he's not trying to marry you, so still don't carry his child, right? So you have this child that you don't want, and the best thing is just to kill the child, right? Because I don't want to take accountability and face the consequences of my actions. Some men that coerce and put pressure on these women to get abortion because they don't want to take the consequence of the action, hey, they're cockroaches. That's cockroach behavior. STD is the reason why there's outbreak is because there's a whole bunch of cockroach people running around having sex outside of marriage. Just say what it is. I don't care how, if you want to normalize being a cockroach, then that's you. A cockroach is a cockroach. It is what it is. But let's keep going. I seen this bodybuilder, so I looked it up. Do you guys know what the #1 killer is? I just found this out. The #1 killer worldwide, pretty much. Maybe not in certain places on the planet, but worldwide. It's heart disease. It's not even cancer. Heart disease. You know I'm pulling out this phone. Check this out. Check this out. I was like, what? First, let me delete a couple of these ones. Alright. Delete that one. Delete that one. That's going to be a trip when you see people die from chlamydia, or die from gonorrhea, or die from syphilis, because you can't treat it in 10, 15 years from now, when it's untreatable. And the best way to treat it is wait to get married before you have sex. That's the best way. Let's keep going. Check this out. What is the #1 killer in America? Heart disease. Heart disease is the leading cause of death in both men and women. This is the case in U.S. and worldwide. More than half of all the people who die due to heart disease are men. Medical professions use the term heart disease to describe several conditions. So then I looked up heart disease causes. Heart disease. Common heart disorders can increase your risk of a stroke. Right? For example, coronary artery disease, which increases your risk of stroke because plaque builds up in the arteries and blocks the flow of oxygen-rich blood to the brain. Okay, so I look up what clogs arteries. If there's too much cholesterol in the blood, the cholesterol and other substances may form deposits, plaques, that collect on the artery walls. Plaque can cause an artery to become narrow or blocked. If plaque ruptures, the blood clot can form. Okay, what causes clogged arteries? Many factors can contribute to high blood cholesterol. So cholesterol, what causes high blood cholesterol? Because we looked at clogged arteries. What causes clogged arteries is high cholesterol. What causes high cholesterol? Many different factors can contribute to high blood cholesterol, including lifestyle like smoking, unhealthy diet, and lack of exercise, as well as having underlying conditions such as high blood pressure and diabetes. So the first sign, as soon as someone says, hey, you got high cholesterol, you should already take it as a death sentence, because you're not going to be able to go years with high cholesterol without that building to plaque and then clogged arteries. And then you're not going to live years of clogged arteries without that turning to heart disease. And you're not going to live with heart disease without one day getting a stroke. So right when you see that happens, then you need to have diet and exercise. Change your diet and change exercise. Now, I looked up, because you could be skinny, but I looked up if obesity increases your risk more than skinny people. Because skinny people could still be a diabetic. They could still get clogged arteries right now. But let's check this out. People living with excess weight or obesity are more likely to develop heart disease. So yes, this affects overweight people more. Fat people more, right? In addition, excess weight or obesity are associated with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and type 2 diabetes. Each of these conditions raise the risk of developing heart disease. There's no way you're going to get at. This is why I'm saying, when someone comes to you and they say, oh, the Almighty showed me this, or we should do this, and they want to speak the Bible and they're overweight, then I start to question, because why hasn't the Almighty dealt with you on this? Because for you to say you're okay with this weight, then you have to say the Almighty is okay with you having heart disease, clogged arteries, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. The Almighty is okay with you having this stuff. And you wouldn't say that. You wouldn't say that, because he wants you to be healthy. So you reap what you sow. So if you're sowing no exercises, and you're not having no restriction on your sugar, no restriction on your caloric intake, and no restriction on your diet, then what are you going to reap? And so you're going to say it's the Almighty's will for me to be overweight and be obesity? It's the Almighty's will? And if it's not the Almighty's will, because look at this is the number one death, heart disease is the number one killer in America, then what are you doing about it? Because it's so much easier to share Bible scriptures than to take your butt to the gym. And it's so much easier to say what thus said the Lord is than to go ahead and cut the amount of sugar and amount of sodas you're drinking. It's so much easier to do that and to post this on Facebook and to share with the Almighty this and to quote this scripture and to do all this. But then if you have the wisdom, then why isn't it a reflection of your behavior? How can you care for others when you're not willing to care for yourself? Because you're his temple. You're his temple. And you're abusing his temple, which is going to cause heart disease, clogged arteries, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes. You are destroying his temple. And then you want to tell me about the things of the Most High? How does that make sense? You're outside the will of the Most High as we speak. And then you're going to tell me? So next time you see these overweight people, because a lot of these men are overweight teachers, go ahead and question. Go ahead and question. You're destroying his temple and you want to tell me about the Most High? You weigh 300 pounds and you want to talk to me about the things of the Most High while you're just decimating his temple. Because you don't want to go to the gym. Because you don't want to put in the work and do some cardio. Because you don't want to have no self-discipline to control how much calories and what calories you get your nutrients from. No. We got to come up higher. I know we don't have that problem at True Believers United because we're all on the same page. But I want to bring that. The only reason I brought it, I didn't know that heart disease was the number one killer. I didn't know that. And then that stems from obesity. You're at high risk of being obesity. So there's no way in the world you're going to say, I'm in the will of the Most High while I'm obese. No man, especially you men out there, because you are the teachers. The women, yeah, I don't agree with that either. But you men out there trying to teach the word and you overweight and obese? Yeah, right. Hey, you pull the beam out of your own eye first. Quit destroying the Almighty's temple and desecrating his temple because you're supposed to be the temple of the Most High. Then come talk to me about righteousness. Then come talk to me. At least be in the gym. Yeah, you don't have to be all skinny or whatnot. At least say, yeah, I go to the gym 3 times a week. Or, hey, I watch my diet. Hey, my body's my temple, and I don't want to destroy his temple. I don't want to defile his temple. I don't want to abuse the good body he's given me. At least say, hey, I'm putting the effort in. Put in the work. It may take you 6 months. It may take you 2 years. Put in the work in to get in shape. So, these people out there fornicating, hey, you get what you get and you don't have a fit. You don't like STDs. They want it all. These sinners want it all. They want to go out. They don't want STDs and they don't want to die from gonorrhea and they don't want, but I just want to go ahead and just sleep with as many men or as many women as I want. But I don't want any consequences from it. No, you're getting, no, you take that syphilis, sinner. You take that. Take that HPV. You take that. That's the consequences of your actions. You take that. You know what I'm saying? So, with all that said and being done, keep standing. Don't drop standards. Give the Almighty hand clap. Shalom.